I definitely didn't spend that entire time trying to tweet when Twitter was being a big dumb. Hello, everyone.
I totally wasn't tweeting out the show during the intro either. That totally did not happen.
Yeah, well, at least your Twitter decided to not be a big silly idiot. And
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
I
I'm
say,
sorry. Wait. So wait, were you using Twitter or were you using X?
I was using Twitter.
Okay.
X is what I'm calling Elon Musk's midlife crisis project. And when I hit share on YouTube, it said Twitter. So apparently YouTube is being just against that entirely. So yeah, when I hit add GIF Twitter X, whatever you want to call your stupid self, I mean add a GIF. I added a GIF and it said no, you don't get to add a GIF. And also another thing is I hate whenever you add a GIF and you've typed something before it when you're sharing a link and it just poof, all that shit you typed before it, you have to retype now.
Yes.
Because for some reason adding a GIF when you're sharing a link makes the words disappear. None of that makes any logical sense. I have no idea why it's doing that. But hello everyone. Stupid Twitter is being dumb. So hello. Yes. Chris is missing in action. We have no idea where he's gone.
Is that allowed? Are we allowed to stream without Chris?
Chris always comes. He is also like a wizard, okay? Because he is Santa Claus, so he's also like a wizard.
This is true. Yeah.
He comes in whenever he comes. He comes. We don't argue. We don't. There's nothing we just kind of like, yeah, he's there. Ta-da! And he's probably going to be cooking something absolutely delicious that's going to make both of us hungry. When he describes it, and because he's an insane cook. Little known fact about Chris Persia, he is an insane cook. And then he's going to be like, what the hell, you're early. And then he's going to meme on me for like 5 minutes. And
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
We have a great relationship. He tortures me with delicious food descriptions, and then trolls me, and then we just go about our business. So, but yeah. we all appreciate Chris Persia. We need a Chris Persia appreciation day.
I know, like, if every channel that he's a mod for, like, all like got together, then how many people would be on that stream?
Oh my god, so many humans. But all right, Sakura, hello. D-Nice Gamer, hello. Me, hello. Adea, hi. And oh my god, Josh. I will not say hello to you.
Aw.
Keely, hello. Roll Tide, yes, I said it. I finally said it. I'm being nice today.
Are you only saying that because Alabama lost last weekend?
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's hilarious. No. No. I don't really have, unless I'm actively trying to look it up, I don't really have access to watching college games. So, and funnily enough, that's the only football I care about. The only sport I really care about that I can even think of. So, yeah.
I used to love watching the NFL, but I can't stand it now because they've just pussified it so much. So like, yeah. Basically, the only sport I occasionally will still watch is I'll watch baseball every now and then, but that's about it. And I used to be a huge sports fan.
I think it's funny because I think about me being a sports fan, and I think I was more of a sports fan because my brother and dad were, and we had cable. So it was like we all of us would split the TV. So like my mom and I love crime dramas, and my brother and my dad love like sports, and so we would like split. We were watching, or we would like come together, like especially in like my high school years, we would find a show that we would all watch together. So, and we'd like group watch a show together as a family. But that didn't really happen until I hit high school, and then occasionally when I would visit in college. So, yeah, that's just how that was. And
I mean,
feel
I haven't even watched the Super Bowl live in probably about 5 years.
I can't remember when last time I watched a Super Bowl. I remember in college when my best friend and I were trying to order. We were having a bad horror movie night, which was like one of our favorite things to do together. Is we would go on Netflix and we would search the genre horror, and we would read the descriptions, the little summary, like the 3-sentence summaries that they had on there, and we would find the most ridiculous ones. And we would like set up 2 or 3 of them to watch, and we sometimes we would drink alcohol, depending on like depending on the money that we had and what we were doing. That happened a lot more when I got to 21, and it was more just the convenience of it all, because I had the car and he was older, so he would have to have gone in and gotten in whatever, totally legal and whatever. But it's just that's kind of it wasn't. Alcohol isn't fun really unless you're having like a beer, like a Mike's Hard Lemonade, when you're relaxing, or you're with a group of people watching bad movies. In my opinion, parties are super overrated. But we would just chill, and we were trying to watch those movies, and we had them all set up, and we were trying to figure out what we're going to eat, and we didn't feel like making anything, and he didn't feel like making anything because he didn't pay me gas money to take him to the grocery store. He would just cook me meals every once in a while at his apartment, which was walkable from mine. And we were like, okay, let's order some pizza. And we try to order pizza, and it's like a fucking 2-hour wait. And we're just like, what in the hell is going on? Oh, it's Super Bowl Sunday. And that's when I realized that I didn't give a shit about sports 100% unless it was like put in front of me. So that was a very long story to just say that. Okay, anyway, moving on. Legal. Yeah, it's very legal. That's just kind of what happens is generally illegal things are more appealing to teenagers who don't have a fully and early 20-year-olds who don't have a fully developed prefrontal lobe. So yeah, it's fun times. When your logic center of your brain isn't fully developed, you do some really dumb shit.
Yeah.
Because you rationalize shit not with logic and reason and critical thinking, but with emotions. So, which emotions is always a good thing to logic yourself around. So,
right, kind of like Rings of Power and the actual story.
Oh, there is no story. I don't know what you're talking about. You're being awfully generous to them. Things just kind of happen, and you know what? I will give Rings of Power 1 credit. I'm going to give them a thing. Yes, I'm giving them a thing, Josh. I'm doing it. I'm giving them a thing. I'm giving them a compliment. Thanks to them, I actually understood why Moria was such a big L. Because it looked pretty fucking cool in Rings of Power, and it was probably one of the only good things in there was Rings of Power. And Rings of Power was
I will grant them the design of Khazad-dûm was pretty sweet.
It was pretty cool. I liked it. I liked the elegance, because too many times you'll see that it's like, oh, doors, they just do the mighty shit and they just dig for shit. It's like, yeah, but they can make pretty things, you assholes. Like, what do you? They can still make pretty things, and Tolkien does a really good job with that. And I thought that was one of the only things that apparently they understood was that Moria Khazad-dûm, whatever you want to call it, was actually like really pretty. And it was supposed to be like this paradise for dwarves.
Right.
Like they actually conveyed that fairly well, I thought, in the Rings of
Hey,
Power.
Dave Bob.
Someone said Rings of Power, and Dave Bob was like, I have to say how trash it is.
I mean, the show is awful.
It is. It's embarrassing. It's funny because I saw a fan-made poster of Rings of Power. Oh, hold on, I gotta see if I can bring it up. So when I was making my thumbnail, quote unquote, making my thumbnail, I'm definitely not Googling Lord of the Rings wallpaper images because it was 2 a.m. And couldn't be bothered to edit shit together. I was looking. I was just trying to find something that I could quickly like stream together. And I found someone made a fan poster of the Rings of Power, and they did something really funny. Let's see if y'all can spot what they did. God, the stupid sun helmet will never not make me laugh. It's so embarrassing. It's just so.
Or my favorite part was Deeza going full on Darth Vader.
Oh, that was pretty funny. So here we go. Do you notice something different about one of the characters in this?
Oh, hey, there's Chris.
Oh, look, Chris, there it is. No, he shows a pic. I've been on time before that. You are giving Clubby credit for something. How dare you? So, what do you notice is pretty different in this?
And Clubby's been on the show more than once, way more than once.
You're unsubbing, Chris. How dare you? You can't do that. That's not allowed. You're not allowed to unsub. See, I told you he showed up whenever he wanted to, but he didn't describe delicious food. He just started immediately trolling me. So rude. So rude. What do you notice that's different here? There's one character that doesn't quite look the same.
Elrond stuns out a little bit.
Nope, that's not who I noticed.
Okay.
And then proceeded to cackle madly. Of course, it was also 2 a.m. and it doesn't take much to make me laugh at 2 a.m. But the fact that I still find it funny right now is. Do you notice how Galadriel doesn't look almost anything like how she does in the show? She actually looks pretty and elvish, and like, you know.
Yeah. I mean, they were all airbrushed for these promotional pictures, but yeah.
I know, but that's embarrassing because that doesn't even look like the same person.
Yes.
That's like a different actress, okay? That's how much they had to airbrush her to make her look like the character they were advertising her as.
Yes, that is true.
Her hair doesn't look the same. Her cheekbones are higher because, like, Cate Blanchett's cheekbones are fucking phenomenal, okay? She has makeup on, which gives her that, probably they put some, like, fake eyelashes in to, like, and then darken them to kind of fullen out that look. And she looks pretty, right? But it's one of those subtle natural ones. So, like, they put makeup on her to make her look naturally pretty. Whereas they did absolutely. I guess they just fired their makeup team during the show because holy shit, she looks good. Now everything that came out of her mouth, like when she started opening her mouth, I would not be able to handle her because she was an incredibly
murderer.
You're talking like just one of the least likable fictional characters, I think.
I mean, there wasn't really any likable characters, really, but yeah, she was
Mount
the worst.
Doom was pretty good. I liked Mount Doom.
Except it didn't kill her.
Wipe out the show. No, because fire isn't hot for some odd reason.
Yeah.
Once that was pointed out to me from EFAB, I can't unhear that or see it. Fire just literally is not hot in Rings of Power. It's embarrassing.
And they're doing a fake out death with Isildur of all people, and Muriel was blinded when she wasn't blind in the story. So I don't know why they did that. Like her most famous moment is literally seeing the oncoming destruction of Numenor.
No, but we already saw that, so it's fine.
Oh.
She already saw it by looking in the Palantir or whatever, the stupid crystal ball thing.
But no, she tried to she tried to get to higher ground when the tidal wave hit. Like that's in the story. So it's like she sees it coming. She literally sees the tidal wave coming.
Yeah, but like in her vision, that's what
I know.
We've seen her see it. We've seen her see this thing in the whatever. Definitely not evil crystal balls that are. Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, crystal balls were a good idea for like communication purposes. But again, like if one of your enemies gets one of them, you're fucked. So it's just useless after that. Should have required a passcode or something. You know, you have Majel. What's her name? Majel Barrett, the Starfleet computer.
Yeah.
Person. You just have her say, "Unable to comply. Authorization code required." Like, oh fuck no.
Well, now I'm picturing Saruman like okay, maybe it's an H pattern on the Palantir. He's like trying to do like the touch the touch password.
Yeah. It's just embarrassing. But yeah, I've been watching Voyager, if y'all haven't been able to tell. We just finished season 2 today before the show. So
how about those Kazon, huh?
Kazon are annoying. I think that, what are they called? Davidian? The fake people. I think they are way more interesting as a species. Yes, they're way more interesting as a species.
That was one of the that's one of the more creative villains that they came up with. Yeah.
Utopian species that gets fucked over by a plague
a devastating disease, yeah.
Literally like makes you like your cells degenerate into nothingness, and so they have to like scavenge dead bodies to like replace body parts on them, and they use like neural like stabilizers and boosters
and they attacked Neelix, so that makes them better in my opinion too.
Funnily enough, Neelix, Neelix is doing okay at the moment, in my opinion. All right, he's not being too annoying. Okay, he's not being too annoying right now, so I'm okay with him just doing his own fucking cooking thing. He must go cook, as long as he's not being irritating. All right, I'm okay.
Well,
you go stay over there. I'm in season 2 of 7.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
And I will say, one of my favorite episodes of Voyager. It's in season 3. It's called Fair Trade. It's a Neelix-centered episode, and it's one of my favorite of the entire series.
I would say my favorite episode right now of the entire series is a Neelix centered episode. It's Investigations. So I absolutely adored that episode. So
which it's one was that?
So Investigations is where he becomes a reporter for like a single fucking episode.
Get used to that on Voyager. It's like, right. Oh, remember that thing that they set up for one episode? Yeah, it's gone now. Yeah, that's a commonplace.
That would have been cool, you know. I think I do think that the Phage thing would have. Those people are way more interesting as a villain. Kazon are very annoying.
They are dollar store Klingons. That's all they are.
I don't even know if I didn't. I mean, I've found useful things at a dollar store. Okay, Josh. Like I don't know.
That's fair. I will also admit, while overall not the best written character, I liked Seska.
Seska had an interesting premise. She became girl boss that didn't. I don't know what she did to Chakotay was pretty fucked up.
That was pretty messed up.
I don't know if I'd call it like the word, right, or the assault words, or I don't know what to call it because I've never really heard of that. I don't know what to do with that. That's just there was no consent involved and nobody that was not okay and ended up not being his anyway. So lol. But
yeah, because they did that during the season break cliffhanger. So during the season, they're like, no, no, let's not have it be his actual kid. That's kind of messed up.
Hey, I'm just saying, I am dealing with him. Okay, all right. I'm not like, okay, I broke a nail yesterday. I'm dealing with it. All right. It's not bothering me until I have to use the thumb and have to deal with the fact that I can't use my thumbnail for things now. Okay. So it's I am he's okay. He's over there, and I'm not having to notice or deal with him. And whenever he seems to be on screen, for the most part, he's useful. Except for this past episode where he definitely got Hogan killed, which Rick Hogan, okay, fucking got eaten by a cave worm.
And as Neelix is like telling him, to pick up these things here. He has one in his hand, and then he just drops it down and like tells him to pick it up. It's like, you asshole, Neelix.
I don't know. Those kind of look like humanoid bones. I don't think I want that as my stock for my broth. Okay, like I don't know what those are.
And they actually bring it back. That's actually something they bring back.
Very bad. I would not know, but it just. I don't know. Neelix is. I'm not irritated with him at the moment. Of course, I skipped the episode 2 Vix because I've already seen it and I didn't want anything to do with it, and neither did Loki. So we came to a unanimous agreement that we were going to skip it because it was like, yeah, let's move on. So I think that actually won. I think that was actually in Neelix's favor
because he's barely in the episode. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
although there is the slight problem with they mentioned that the episode the solution, they figured out a way to separate the two figures' DNA, but then they flat out mentioned there's 3 species because it was also the part of the plant that caused the issue. So I guess Neelix is just part plant now.
Sure, why not? But anyway, so that was I'm in the middle of watching Voyager. There will be a Voyager review at some point in the future whenever I'm done with that. So I don't know when I'm going to be done with it though. But yeah, it's interesting. It's like they don't really know what they're doing, but it does feel like good old Star Trek, so it's kind of fine. I will say something that is bothering me is I want consistency on Janeway's hair. She had short hair for literally 1 episode this season, and then they went back to long hair, and I don't know why, because the short hair looks very much like. I mean, that didn't look like a wig. It looked like it was naturally cut. And the long hair doesn't look like a wig. It looks natural. Usually you can kind of tell with wigs. Like Kes definitely has a wig on. Wigs are somewhat easily seen. Like you can tell when someone has a wig on generally because they don't have a part in their hair. Part in their hair would show scalp, and it's very hard to make scalp look like scalp.
And I just
or non-scalp. Yeah.
Is there? I don't know how else to say it. Kess's species makes no damn sense.
It doesn't, so I've been ignoring it. I'm just ignoring it because I can't deal with how ridiculous it is.
Having I don't mind the idea of having a main cast member be a species that's incredibly short-lived compared to everyone else. I'm okay with that idea, but then they mentioned that they can only reproduce once. It's wait, so does that mean every generation gets cut in half?
Yeah, so there's a lot of issues, and I pretty much ignored them every time they pop up, for the most part, unless they're like something I can just deal with. But there's a lot about her species that makes no logical scientific sense. All right, I just go ahead and like
the baby also like appears like on the back, like they form like a sack on the woman's back, so
which makes no sense evolutionary wise because you want
it
the mother to be able to.
It forces the mother to have to like stand up in order to give birth, so the baby that you can only have once has a good chance of just plummeting to the floor.
So why would it be on the back?
There's a lot of things that they did with the aliens in Voyager where they go, we'll just throw this in because that's so alien, when it's like, yeah, but that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. Okay, like I'll something it took me way too long to figure out, but the Andorians are blue and white because they live on an ice planet, which I will be I'm sorry to say, it took me until season 3 to figure that shit out. I didn't piece that together. I just didn't think about it. I didn't think about their home world.
Well, I mean, we never saw their home world until season 4 of Voyager or Enterprise. So we never actually saw their world.
It wasn't until Blue Wei was talking about
Shran.
How cold? Yes, but he's Blue Wei. It was talking about how cold it was. I was like, of course it's an ice planet. That's why they're blue and white, because they evolved to that. That's why Vulcans have, generally speaking, darker skin, because they live on a
desert world.
On a desert world where
unless you watch Star Trek Discovery, where they're in a luscious area. Like,
no, we're not talking about it. Okay. Now I understand. The only reason I can understand, like, okay, so Spock having such fair skin would make more sense to me because, first of all, he's half human and Amanda's white as hell. So he has a lighter skin tone also because he's the ambassador's son and he's treated like royalty. So they're not going to go out in the sun as much. So a lot of like the normal things that Vulcans would do, right? You know, it's not, it's like and humans, right? We have farmers. Like my granddad, he had like darker leathery kind of skin on his arms. You know, even though he was very much like European descent, like white, but he had darker like leathery skin because he attended to like a farm, a garden.
Yeah, so he had being out in the sun will do that.
Yeah, you know, lower income, and so you know he did that. That's kind of just that's what he looked like, but Spock didn't really. So just kind of because he was again treated like royalty. Generally speaking, in royalty, you don't go out into the sun and you don't like do manual labor and stuff because that's considered peasant's work. So that's just kind of anyway. So we're talking about Star Trek, and I wanted to talk about Lord of the Rings. So
right.
Anyway, we will get to Voyager at some point. But Lord of the Rings. So I'll tell you how I got started on this.
Yeah, so you texted me yesterday, like, hey, I just finished the books. So when did that start?
So that was a little bit of a miss. I had finished the books the day before.
You lied to me in a text message. How dare you?
I know.
I thought you'd finished it literally that second and then texted me.
Yes. So
man.
I finished the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and my first thought is, hey Josh, I need to talk to you about the show tomorrow. I actually had no plan. I didn't have any plans for. I know, shocking revelation. I didn't have any plans for this week.
We're professionals, damn it.
Well, it's we have Loki and I have an Audible account, and we did it earlier we did it earlier this year because I had been saying forever that I wanted to get back into reading, and when the pandemic started, I started reading The Stand because I thought it was funny. Because I apparently still have a little bit of like 12-year-old edge still in me. But it's what the frustrating thing about like reading a physical book is that's the only thing I can do. I do not have a lot of spare time. I just don't. And it's very difficult to make the choice when there's so many other things I can do. To sit down and read a physical book. You know, I've made exceptions like for Adega, and I've made exceptions for other things. But generally speaking, I have a hard time just sitting down and reading like a physical book, unless there is nothing more to do. Like one of the reasons I even kind of got started reading The Stand initially, even with the pandemic, was there was a giant freeze that happened that got me reading it again. So I would like put it down and I'd pick it up. But the freeze happened. There was no electricity. There was no internet. There's nothing. So there's nothing else I could do besides read. So I chose to read. And I had gotten halfway into The Stand over the course of like 3 or 4 years. And I really didn't, but I guess 3 years, and I hadn't finished it. So I finally was like, you know what? Loki, you have an Audible account. Let's put in a membership to make our where you get like that 1 credit a month, right? And we'll go ahead and do that. So we share an account, and I finished reading The Stand in like a week or 2. I can't remember. It was like a week and a half, because I can listen to stuff while I work. I've always been like that. It's how I'm able to listen to podcasts. It's how I'm able to do stuff. So I just had Audible.
I listen to podcasts and audiobooks while I'm at work all the time.
Yeah, so this is how I got back into reading. So I finished The Stand, and then I finished It. That was my next hurdle, was I wanted to read It. Because I'd watch the movies, I'd watch the miniseries. I wanted to see what the book was all about. And then the next thing, I was kind of trying to figure out what to do, because I was, I was looking at the stuff he had already gotten on his account, and he's a big Dark Tower fan. Anybody who knows about Loki, he's a huge Stephen King Dark Tower fan. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to read these books, because, I want to discuss it with him, because we've kind of danced around it. There's been certain things in certain books, because the Dark Tower kind of connects everything in Stephen King. So in order to kind of even properly discuss his other books, if you want to include the Dark Tower in it, you have to read the Dark Tower. And so I ended up reading it, and it took me a while, because there were parts of the series where it drug, and and I had a hard time staying focused on it. And then people would, people that do podcasts that I listen to would post new stuff, and I'd occasionally go back to that. And it took me a while to finish the Dark Tower. I did enjoy it, but it kind of burned me out of horror for a little bit, just because it was a very, very long story. 7 books. Okay, I read a 7-book series that had multiple 20+ hour long books in it for Audible. That was a lot. I kind of think of whether or not I could sit down and read all 7 of the Harry Potter books back to back. I don't even think I could do that. I'm a big Harry Potter fan. So it was quite the undertaking. And I wanted something different. And I noticed that Loki had the Fellowship of the Ring in his catalog. And I had been saying for years, basically since I was, I think I was in college. My brother had expressed interest in reading the Lord of the Rings books because he loved the movie so much. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll read them one day. And how many times during the Rings of Power saga did I say that I need to read the books? A bunch. And I just, I had never really gotten around to it. And I wanted to change the scenery from horror. And so I decided to start reading Lord of the Rings. Not this past week, but the week before, I think is when I started it.
You read the whole trilogy starting last week?
Yeah, in the last 2 weeks, yes.
Damn.
That's Audible books. Now, you have to understand, listening to audiobooks speeds up the process significantly.
Yes, it does.
So, here, I'm actually opening my Audible on my phone so I can tell you how long each one is. Now, the only problem I have with Audible, is that once you finish a book, you have to click on each one of it because it says finished or 0 minutes left. So let's see. So Fellowship of the Ring is 22 hours, 38 minutes. And then you have, oh, that's funny. I hit it and it started playing it a little bit. The Two Towers is 20 hours, 46 minutes. And The Return of the King is 21 hours, 52 minutes. So that's a lot. That's over 60 hours of content. But you have to understand is I start working fairly early. And I would literally get up, and as I was getting dressed for work and getting stuff ready at 5:30 in the morning, I would start listening to the book. And then I wouldn't stop working until anywhere between 3 to 6. So I was listening 10 to 12 hours a day on the books. So that's how I was able to finish it so quickly. Just as an FYI.
Okay.
So
was it the was it the Andy Serkis versions?
Yes, it was, because that's what Loki had the Fellowship at. He only had the Fellowship in there. He might have had the Hobbit too. I don't remember, but I know he had the Fellowship. So I went ahead and I got obviously the Two Towers, Return of the King, and also the Silmarillion. So
I'm actually currently reading the Silmarillion.
Yeah,
it's pretty slow.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's as good as Andy Serkis is, that one's a bit on the slow side. His reading of the Hobbit is fantastic.
Yes, that's the one I started it. And I'm gonna go and say I enjoyed the beginning. The beginning portion of The Hobbit I've enjoyed more than I did there initially on Lord of the Rings. So
well, the tone of The Hobbit is different than Lord of the Rings.
Yes, it's lighter actually.
It's a lot lighter of a story. Also, when in the Andy Serkis reading of it, I actually love his singing of the Dwarven song more than the movie version. I thought he did a fantastic job with that.
Well, when I say I'm at the beginning of The Hobbit, I mean Frodo has said good morning to Gandalf. Bilbo, whatever.
Bilbo Baggins, the bravest little hobbit of them all.
Whatever. Anyway, Bilbo has said good morning to Gandalf 8,000 times, and he goes into his house, and Gandalf is laughing at his ass, and that is the extent that I have read of The Hobbit. Okay. So, I'm very much at the beginning. Send you both. Go ahead and plug it. I don't care. Go buy Adega's books. Buy them now.
Yeah.
They're cool. Buy them all. I think we have a copy, actually, of Blood Witch.
I don't think I do have a copy of Blood Witch. I have Evolution.
Pretty sure.
But I don't have Blood Witch, Adega. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a brown one. Yeah, it's a brown one. We have that one. So don't worry about sending us a copy. Unless you have the hardback, and I just totally forgot to get the hardback version. But we have Evolution. We have the one. Wow, my brain just died. The one after. Oh my god. What is wrong with me? Yeah. And we tried to find you in Barnes & Noble and we couldn't. Sad day. But I just found you on Barnes & Noble website. So. Oh no.
What?
Oh, just I'm it says 11 years ago for the review. I didn't know you. That's hilarious.
Thank you, Chris.
So I'm looking at the Barnes & Noble reviews for Adega's book, and they were both posted 11 years ago. I'm a bit confused by that. Oh, I didn't know you wrote them 11 years ago. So I don't understand. Okay, no, hold on. Adega, I have to show this to you. This is super funny. Hold on. Hold on a second. Hold on. This is hilarious. So you have you have two reviews, and one is 5-star and one is 1-star. And the 1-star review is hilarious. Read this for the truth. This entire book is dumb, a scientific.
Unscientific, yeah.
Yes, the author completely ignores the other things that need to be factored in for a truer statement.
The Earth.
The Earth is that Jesus Christ, our Heavenly Father, came to Earth to die for our sins, which I don't think at any point in the book he says that's not the case. Okay. I think it's because you titled your book Evolution that this person got so triggered. If you don't believe, then you are being headstrong. Don't stop reading, but hear me, Ayut. It takes more faith to believe there isn't a God than to believe there is one. If you think God doesn't exist because something bad happened in your life to your selfie or to some obe you loved, know this: God didn't do it. There is evil in this world. Sometimes God won't protect you from all of it. There will be a terrible fight in the end days. Revolution says, yes, we didn't even get this properly done. Revolution, not
Revelation.
The next book, Revolution.
At least he spelled a word right.
Yes. Jesus,
it's the wrong word, but at least he spelled it correctly.
Jesus, God, Christ, Messiah, whatever you call him, he does exist and he loves you. He gave his son's life for us, the undeserving, and the humans of that day slaughtered him. But he still loves us all. Evolution is a fantasy, escape from the truth that Darwin wrote as an excuse for not. Oh, you're Darwin. Adega, did you know you're actually secretly Darwin? Nice. For believing the real reality. Please don't believe it. It's dumb. And Steph, why didn't you read the Bible? It's much better a Christian. Honey.
That is the single greatest review I've ever seen. That's amazing.
I feel like you should put those on the back of your books. Like there's a quote here. Hold on a second. You should put the instead, why didn't you read the Bible? It's much better as a quote on the back of your book. Yes. Yes. Go do it. Do it. Go buy all of his suits. Buy them. No, it's because he named his book Evolution. This person apparently just was like,
that's what it seems like, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's not like Christianity and science can coexist or anything. But yeah, no, it literally can. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, he even shouted out his, revolution. He even shouted out like the next book. So,
I think that's the greatest review I've ever seen. That was amazing.
That was a great review.
I give that review 10 out of 10 stars.
I like that it said this entire book is an unscientific. It's like, okay.
It's at no point in reading Evolution do you get the impression it's not supposed to be 100% accurate.
It's almost like it's science fiction.
Yeah.
Weird. I don't know.
Because like you can have science fiction that's more fantastical and science fiction that's more based in real science. Like there's a huge thing that where your story can take place within it being science fiction.
Yes.
Like I mean, like Star Wars and Star Trek. They're both technically science fiction, but one is far more fantasy and one is far more scientifically accurate.
Hi, nigga. That was embarrassing. I was just.
Mwah.
That was an embarrassment of a review. Anyway, that was total rabbit hole. I did not expect to see that. I was just wondering why he had 3 stars, and then I scrolled down. I was like, oh shit. So, anyway,
Lord of the Rings. So when you read through them, did you go through The Hobbit, Fellowship, Two Towers, Return of the King?
No,
it was just the trilogy.
So I've watched. I'm reading them in the way that I watched it initially.
Okay.
Was Fellowship, Two Towers, Return of the King, and now I'm on The Hobbit.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna read the Silmarillion, and there's another book that I'm thinking about getting, of Tolkien's. It's called
Children of Huon.
No, actually, it's The Fall of Numenor.
Okay.
I was interested in that. Most ironically,
because I was looking at the one on the Children of Huon, which was read by Christopher Lee. It's like, that sounds amazing.
Nice.
One of the greatest human beings ever.
Yeah. I don't know. At the moment, that's the only one that I can think of that I would want, because I don't know. Other than the fact that it was read by Christopher Lee, I don't know that much. I don't know about the Child of Hurin.
Children of Huon, yeah.
Yeah, Huon. There you go.
It was basically after Tolkien's death, his son Christopher basically went through his notes and went like, okay, what can I make of my father's notes and compile them into something publishable?
Yeah.
That's essentially what they were.
Yeah. I will say that, like, the interest with me in The Fall of Numenor is, well, first of all, The Rings of Power, it seems really fucked up with its portrayal of Numenor.
Oh, God, don't get me started.
I'm a sucker for stories about people's arrogance coming back and biting them square in the ass, and consequences being derived from people's actions. So that's why The Fall of Numenor seems right up my alley, because it is like their fault that they fell. They were so So I know just enough about Numenorians, as to like kind of what led to their very, very, very little. But I do find I love stories of people getting what they deserve, both good and bad. Um, you know, if you deserve bad shit, you deserve bad shit. You know, if you deserve good shit, you deserve good shit. And from what it sounds like, the Numenorians deserve to fall. Those arrogant, ungrateful fucks just couldn't be happy with them just, being who they were. They had to crave more, and it's just, obviously, like, stories of jealousy also fascinate me. So that's kind of the root of all their problems was, well, that and pride. So jealousy and pride kind of led to their fall. And I don't know, that kind of story seems like it's right up my alley. I'd have to learn more about these other little groups, in order for me to be more interested in that. So,
and that's where the Silmarillion comes in, because the Silmarillion is essentially a history book / Bible for Middle Earth.
Okay. Well, it sounds like Middle Earth has had many an interesting event happen. So, is there anything that talks about like Morgoth properly? Like the first
Silmarillion.
age? Silmarillion is about. Okay, good. All right.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Morgoth is all over the Silmarillion, as is the like Sauron was like one of his lieutenants, and you see him kind of starting to gain more power as well during the story.
Yes.
One of the things that really kind of irritated me about Rings of Power was they had Finrod, Galadriel's brother. She said they made it very clear Sauron killed him. That's like half true.
And Brandon less for some reason. Batman prison style.
The brand never happened, and Sauron killing Finrod is only partially true. He was killed by a werewolf that was under the command of Sauron. So it's like he's not directly responsible.
Man, I forget there's werewolves in Tolkien. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Now everything else, I'm like, yeah, walking trees, orcs, elves, dwarves.
If there's a fantasy creature, chances are it exists in Tolkien somewhere.
Vampires?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yes, vampires are in Lord of the Rings.
Fascinating.
Well, not Lord of the Rings, but they're in Middle Earth.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, so when I started reading Fellowship, it's like I'm basically I've watched the theatrical and the extended versions of the movies. Yes. So it's like I am familiar enough with the major plot points.
Right.
I will say the extended editions, I mean, you can't even tell it's deleted footage because it flows so flawlessly in. I mean, it's pretty obvious that the stuff that was cut for like theater time.
Yes.
Because it's flawless.
Yes. I think the Lord of the Rings films is a pristine example of how to trim something down to its core elements and still keep it cohesive with a lot of the flavor. I think they're a flawless example of dramaturgy in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now again, there are changes. There are absolutely changes.
Yeah, but we'll get to those.
Yes.
So pretty much what I was doing was I was taking what I've seen in the movie and what I remember happening in the movie, and I was playing it out in my mind with the scenes because who was the director? Ron Howard?
Peter Jackson.
Is that the name? Peter Jackson? Why did
Peter
I say
Jackson.
Ron Howard? Okay, then what did Ron Howard do? What did my brain
Apollo
go to Ron
13?
Howard? Why the hell did my brain go to Ron Howard?
I have no...
Obviously, it's Peter Jackson. What the hell's wrong with my brain? Josh, it's your fault.
Oh. Okay.
I don't know why my brain said Ron Howard. Yes, Peter Jackson. Peter Jackson. He did a damn good job. I will go ahead and say that. Probably I don't know. It might be the most accurate book to movie adaptation.
I don't know about accurate.
Well
again,
done.
there are quite a few changes. But
yes,
I
will accept
it is I would say it's a flawless example of adapting something from one medium to another, because there are just some things that work in book form, but they don't really translate well into a visual medium like a film. Like, for example, Tom Bombadil.
Yeah, we can talk about him if you want.
I understand what Tolkien was going for.
Oh, do you?
Well,
faithful. There we go. That's what I meant.
Yes.
There we go. I knew I used the wrong word. I just couldn't think of what word to use.
Yeah, because I mean, no one can deny there are absolutely some significant changes from the books into the movies, but it keeps it keeps the spirit of it alive.
Yes, it was damn good.
Yes. Okay, but so for example, Tom Bombadil, he was cut from the movies.
Yeah.
Now I understand what Tolkien was going for in the books. You have this being that is seemingly completely impervious to the ring. He has no sway over him. It doesn't affect him at all. It doesn't even turn him invisible. And I've always and because I look at Tom Bombadil as basically an entity of nature. And so I think what Tolkien was saying with Tom Bombadil was, no matter what the political machinations are of the world, nature will go on regardless. That's just my interpretation, though.
Okay. I will kind of accept that as an interpretation.
But from a narrative standpoint, he serves no purpose at all.
No.
From a narrative standpoint, outside of he gives them some new clothes, and isn't Sam was a pony from? Didn't he get that from?
I thought he got it from.
Oh, was it Farmer Maggot?
Yes, it was from that one asshole who basically, remember at Bree, they did the ring race, scared off all the horses and shit, and they didn't have the. Right?
Yeah.
Am I misremembering that? And so that one guy that was aligned with Sauron.
Aligned with Sauron
was he not in Bree? The human? Yeah, that one human guy, fucking Bill or whatever his name was. He was helping the ring race and shit, and he upcharged them. That was the only pony, and it was sick and shit because.
Oh, right? I forgot all about that. It's been a little while since I last read the books. Yeah.
Remembering? Yeah, I think that's where it came from, because it was so poorly done, and that's why it was so loyal to Sam. So he treated it right.
That's right. But and then I think he sent him to Farmer Maggot when they had to part ways.
Yes, when they got to Moria, they were.
Yeah, I think Sam sent Bill to Farmer Maggot.
or that was the intention, but we didn't really know what happened to it until the end. So
right, he made it safe. Spoilers.
well, yes.
Justice for Bill.
Yay.
Okay, so having now just read it, what's your impressions of the books over compared to the movies?
I think the movies make them stronger, actually, in my opinion. I think there were pros and cons for each one, but a lot of the flaws that I had and issues I had with the books were resolved in the movies. So I think literally watching the movies before you read the books is like, it to me makes more sense. I can't really say that about. I don't even think I can say that about any other movie from book to, the movie that was inspired by the books. That the movies actually make the book stronger.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. What would you say is your biggest flaw with the books?
Well, one of the problems I had with it was I think it was because it was an audiobook, so this might be an audiobook only problem. There was way too much damn singing. I mean,
there are a lot of songs. There are a lot of songs.
And Fellowship, and no offense to Andy Serkis, but my man cannot fucking, like, it just, I was skipping. I skipped a lot of the songs. By the time I hit Two Towers, I skipped the songs because I could not deal with them anymore. It would be like, oh, we're having a moment and singing, we're singing, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, shut up! I'm skipping this. So I did not like the singing. And Fellowship, they just would not stop. It was like twice a chapter, man, at least. Would not stop. Every character sang. You could make a musical of Lord of the Rings with how much singing there is. It's just. I will say, this didn't happen in Fellowship, but so Fellowship, this wasn't as bad, and in Return of the King, it seemed to have fixed itself. So I don't know what happened in Two Towers, but in Two Towers, the way that it was written, really, like, thank goodness I watched the movies and Loki prepared me for this, because this really would have thrown me off. If I would have just gone into the books, it would have been very aggravating to read Two Towers. He would do. I don't understand why he did it initially, but I think. But then he figured it out in Return of the King for the most part. So I don't know what happened. It didn't happen in Fellowship. He would focus on a character journey so hard that he would bypass what other characters were doing during that time. And then once he was done, like, we got to the end point of what that character was doing for a minute, we went back in time to these other characters where this was happening at the exact same time, but it doesn't feel like it because it's an entirely different section, right? It's just, and we've blown by that so fast. So then we started out in Two Towers with Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli, and they're all like, "Shit, what happened?" And Boromir dies. He just eats it because
which
we don't know what happened.
Which I will also freely acknowledge. Moving Boromir's death to be like the dramatic conclusion in
a Fellowship.
Was a strong move by Peter Jackson.
Improvement, definite improvement. I will agree with that 100%. So you're kind of following them, this trio along. You're introduced to Rohan, you're introduced to all these these people, and and then the next thing you're back with, I think it's Merry and Pippin, and you're just like, okay, now we're back at the beginning. We're back at the beginning of the story, and now we're following them along with it. But we already know what's happened to a lot of the things because we've seen them drop the fucking leaf and shit. So we've seen that happen already. And then we shoot past where they were. And like the entire thing that happened in what is it, Isengard with Saruman?
They're taking the hobbits to Isengard, right?
Yeah, so the Ents go to... Yeah, they're taking them to Isengard, and then the Ents fuck up the orc shit, right? So,
yes.
And Rohan riders also... the Rohan riders kill the orcs because they're Rohan, and they're competent. Thank goodness. And then they end up going into the forest, Pippin and Merry, and the Ents end up taking care of them. And then the Ents all meet, and they do.
They also you're forgetting that they also drank Ent-Wash, which made them actually physically grow stronger.
Oh, yeah, I did not. You know what? You say that, and now there's a line at the end of Return of the King that makes more sense. Okay. I guess I never pieced that together.
Yeah, they literally they drink from the Ent-Wash, and they literally grow and become the biggest and strongest hobbits.
That's fascinating. Okay, I didn't piece that together. That's hilarious. But then the Ents, then they're like, oh fuck, they've been burning down our people. We need to go and attack them. And the whole thing with Isengard lays out. And then we're back with Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli. And Gandalf is now here. And then we deal with the shit that's happening in Rohan. And it's like, so we yanked forward and then we go back, and we yank forward and we go back. And it's just, I did not like that. I did not like that kind of storytelling where we shoot past where other characters are instead of making like chapters like this happens and then this happens with the characters, we separate it out. And then there's a second half of the book of Two Towers is only about Frodo and Sam.
Yes.
And all of that is happening with Frodo and Sam is happening at the same time all this other shit is happening. So it's like you're having to keep like a filing cabinet in your brain, or you had to have watched the movies in order to understand the layout of all this stuff. Because I can't imagine just reading the books and not having to like catalog and write shit down and understand what was going on. He fixed it in the Return of the King. The Return of the King does not have that issue, especially with the battle of when they're at the Black Gate, when Gandalf and all of them are at the Black Gate trying to distract Sauron so that the Frodo and Sam can go get their shit done. That goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
I think the books also, I think, do a better job of explaining why it was so important when Pippin touched the Palantir and drew Sauron's attention. Yeah. How absolutely vital that was. I don't think the movies did as good of a job of explaining why that was critical.
No, they didn't. I will say that safely. There are certain things the book does. Obviously, the book explains the reasoning a lot better. Except for there was a couple things. I will say I think the movie did a better job with showing the Ents. And the Ents going from, hey, we're going to discuss this to we're at war. It seems like because the Ents already had seen that they had burned down parts of the forest before they even started talking. Whereas it really wasn't until after they had started talking and Merry and Pippin were like, hey, you need to hurry this shit up. Look at what they're doing. And listen to all the the trees and whatnot. That the Ents were like, oh, well, we actually do need to do something about that. So it's the Ents' turnaround to war seems a lot more abrupt and less I don't quite understand why they were so abrupt and what made their decision so quick in the books, rather in the movie. Saving the reveal of the trees being cut and burned down, a lot of them being cut and burned down by Isengard, as being the catalyst as the Ents going to war, made more logical sense to me. I will say I like the movie Elves better, for the most part, when it came to how they were interacting in the big battles. That's something Loki and I discussed. That the elves don't show up to do
Helm's Deep.
And that bothered me. And so I kind of pretended like they were there because it doesn't make logical sense as to why they wouldn't. And I understand they try to explain it in the book. Like Tolkien tries to explain it in the book, but I'm just, maybe it's because I watched Stargate and there's like a similar thing that happens in Stargate to what the elves are going through, where they're like, well, our time is over. We're not going to interfere and we're just going to kind of fuck off. Like this, we're just going to move on. We can't help or whatever. There's a similar thing that happens in Stargate, and because you haven't watched Stargate, Josh, I'm not going to explain that to you for spoiler purposes. But there's something similar.
It's still on my list, yeah.
It's there's something similar that happens, and I think because I watched Stargate and because I was so annoyed, and I already had arguments as to what these things in Stargate, why they should give a shit when they're not giving a shit. Why I had those arguments laid out, it was very easy for me to just put those over on the elves. It's like I said, incredibly similar reasoning, to the point that I almost think that the inspiration came from Tolkien because it's very similar. Not 100%, because there is a little bit of a difference, and you know what I'm talking about, Chris. I'm assuming. Those people, and I'm not even going to give the names because the names are supposed to the name of the thing I'm talking about is a mystery for the majority of especially SG1, so I don't want to give it too much away for you. But there is something very similar there. The elves deciding that it's not their problem, which I know that's not exactly the correct way of looking at it, but that's basically what it is. And that's kind of the message that's given to everyone else in Middle Earth was, well, our time is over. Bye. Loki and I had this discussion about this, and Sauron, only reason I know this is because of Loki. Sauron was he was Morgoth's lieutenant, but one of the reasons he became as dark and corrupted and as powerful as he was is because he studied Morgoth. And he wanted to learn more about him, and because of that, he became corrupted because he was drenching himself in this dark knowledge and dark magic.
Yes.
And so I don't know if this happens actually in Silmarillion. Does Morgoth actually bash down the elf doors of their heaven and say, "Hi, bitch," and kick their tree?
Well, he does. He does shut down the light of the trees. Yes.
Okay. So
because originally there was no sun. The light came from the trees of Valinor.
Okay.
And he darkened their trees, which led to the creation of the Silmarils and also them forging a sun.
Okay, so I just had to clarify that because Rings of Power is not a good basis for that kind of shit. So I just wanted to know. I just wanted to know if that was anywhere in any realm of possibility accurate. So it sounds like it was almost kind of accurate, just accurate enough that I can kind of run with what I'm saying. So
they got the gist of it to some extent.
All right, so Morgoth figured out how to bust into the elves' heaven. And fuck their shit up, right?
Well, not. I mean, he is a Maiar, so it's like he was welcome, but he was. Morgoth is essentially he's a Lucifer kind of figure, so it's like he was one of the angels basically, who then just got corrupted. So
yeah.
So it's not like he busts down the doors to take out the trees. he just attacked basically.
Okay.
And they're like, whoa, Morgoth, what are you doing? It was
okay.
It was more like that.
All right. So that changes my response just a smidgen, but so let's just say, all right. So the elves fuck off, and Middle Earth falls to Sauron. Okay. Now the elves think that hey, Sauron couldn't possibly ever be as powerful as Morgoth, so we don't really have to worry about it. So we're just going to go hide because this is not our problem anymore. Why on earth would you be so fucking up your own ass in your in your own world where you would think that when Sauron is done fucking up Middle Earth, he is not going to come after you? Why would that not be a thought? Like I do not understand how he
because Valinor has been removed from the world. So when they sail off, they basically ascend in essence. You know, they basically like leave that plane of existence to enter Valinor because Valinor is no longer physically on the planet.
Could he not make a way to get to Valinor?
Probably not, because it involves the power of the Cimmerals.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking like if I was Sauron
again.
right?
Okay, I will specify this. I haven't finished reading the Silmarillion yet, so I'm not 1000% sure on this. This part of this is conjecture.
That's fine. I'm kind of just because I haven't read any of that, so I'm just saying, like, to me, the elves leaving Middle Earth seems incredibly like narcissistic isn't the right word, but it just seems kind of like they were once a part of Middle Earth, and some of what they did, and actually a lot of the choices, even like people as old as like Elrond and people that came before him, right? Gil-galad. My brain wants to call him Gilgamesh because that's what I called him during Rings of Power. That is not.
Well, Galadriel's like 5,000 years old by the time we get to Lord
yeah,
of the Rings.
And Galadriel, like there are old enough elves here that it's like I don't know. They were around when Sauron was initially around. You know.
Yes.
Sauron. The elves definitely made a lot of choices that resulted in Sauron having the power as he did. Okay, Celebrimbor being like a huge portion of that, right? There is a lot of shit that happened with the elf choices that has landed Middle Earth into the situation they're currently in, and by leaving, that's incredibly irresponsible of them, and it's very, like I said, arrogant. In my opinion, if I am Sauron, when I'm done with Middle Earth, I am nowhere close to being satisfied because Middle Earth, you know, it's like, oh, you take over the whole planet, but then once you're done with the whole planet, what else are you going to have to do? Hey, these elves fucking got away from me. I'm going to try to figure out a way to get into Valinor. I don't know. Like, eventually, I would assume that Sauron would be coming after them because he seems a little petty. Like, Sauron's just petty enough that I would believe he would like do everything he could once he got everything he could from the planet that Middle Earth is on to then go further and beyond. So it's like not just satisfying for him to take over the whole planet. His thirst for power and to corrupt everything and to rule over everything would go further than that. So his next step, in my opinion, would probably be Valinor or some other realms that would be more of a challenge to him, right? I don't know. I just eventually he would come after them. That would be my opinion. And so by leaving and not really helping clean up the mess they started, which again is what they did, and to solve this issue, you are only you're only delaying what could happen in the future, because it's never been done, so you don't actually know if it could be done, if that makes sense. He could find a way to get into Valinor. I don't know if he could. I don't know. There's so much dark magic and stuff. It's not like I've read all the shit that he's read. I just feel like he would eventually come after the elves. Because again, they were like the ones that got away in a kind of a way. So that would kind of hurt my ego as Sauron, and I would be a petty asshole, and I would try my hardest to fucking get them, and all that kind of shit. I just keep going up that ladder, you know. Sauron just doesn't strike me as the type of person to be satisfied with just letting the elves go to Valinor and stay there and be happy. I don't see that from him. So I think.
Well, but Sauron would also have to contend with the power of the Valinor themselves. Not like the elves are pretty small compared to all the Valinor.
Fair enough.
Because, I mean, after Morgoth destroyed the trees, they basically kicked his ass.
Yes, I would imagine so. I'd be pissed too. That was a cool ass tree. So, hi, Bam Bam. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, that's kind of just my thinking on it. Like, a villain that craves power and total domination like that wouldn't just stop. Like, I just imagine he would eventually become an issue again for the elves. Now, whether or not, like, like you said, the Valar actually like took care of the problem themselves, I don't know, because I actually don't even know what Sauron at that level of power would look like, because every time we've seen him be super uber powerful at this point, it's not him having actually properly taken over the world, you know,
right?
Like, not reach his fullest potential that he could on that mortal realm. So it's like, I don't know what that looks like. It just seems really dumb of the elves to do that to me.
And Rambam, you're right. The Valar, not the Valinor. Those are two different things.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Yes. So
yeah, the yeah.
Yes. So anyway, the Valar. But that's just my opinion. Is that I think the it's not cool for the elves just to fuck off. Like, they helped make a giant mess, and instead of help cleaning up their portion of it, they just leave. And then they're like, well, they'll never have to deal with us again. And it's also like all the friendships and the relationships that these people have made with these other races, and like they just cut that off and just leave for self-preservation and all. I don't know. There's a lot.
There's also the fact that their power is dwindling, so they're not as strong as they were when they fought Sauron the first time.
Sauron's not as strong as he was either.
No, but comparatively, he's much stronger during the Lord of the Rings saga, as he's much stronger in his eye form than the elves were comparatively. You know, like their power is dwindling.
Yeah, no, I get that. I don't know. I just see, like, they couldn't kick his ass like outright, but they could obviously help. But they're choosing not to really help. Which, again, I find odd that by the time we hit Two Towers that they're not helping, because in Fellowship they seemed like they didn't mind helping. In fact, they like.
Well, Elrond he has a bit more of a tolerance for the race of men, you know, because obviously his daughter is dating one, basically. So I think he has more of a tolerance, but he also fully comprehends that their power is dwindling and they're starting to leave.
Yeah. I don't know. It just seems. I just didn't like it. It didn't. It seemed very short-sighted to me. So maybe that's just.
I mean, that's fair. And there is kind of like a natural smugness to the elves since they were the first race created. I think that plays a factor. There is a bit of a smugness to them.
Yeah, that's something too. I just didn't like that at all. So. Let's see. So
that's also true. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, his brother's also human.
Whose brother is also human?
Elrond.
Oh yeah, he is half human, isn't he?
It's one of those like Arwen. Not the Hey Y'all Arwen, the Lord of the Rings Arwen.
I did figure that one out.
But it's like the same thing. He's half elf, half mortal, so he can choose which one to be. And his brother chose to be a human.
What do you mean he can choose? What? You could choose?
Yeah. Just like Arwen did. She could choose a mortal life, even though she's elvish.
Huh. Interesting.
I thought so, Chris. Sometimes I wanted to make sure people understood I was talking about which Arwen.
Yes. I mean, we have to make sure, because if we don't know, then I mean, what the hell are we gonna do? I mean, obviously, Arwen Avalon in the Lord of the Rings. I mean, that makes total logical sense.
It does. I think it would have been hilarious. Her at the council about what to do with Morgoth, and her going, "What are we gonna do with all this bullshittery?"
That's what
I now picture that happening, and that makes me laugh. We love you, Arwen.
Yes, we do.
What did you think about the ending with Merry and Pippin and the fall of the Shire? What did you think of that storyline?
I didn't mind it.
I see why it was cut from the. I see why it's cut from the film.
I would not have liked it in the movie, but I didn't mind it in the book.
It's one of those things that I don't think it would have translated all that well. Because you get this climax with the ring being destroyed, and yay, it's all done, and then another battle. It would have been. I think it would have been too much. So I understand why they cut it from the movie. I don't think it would have worked. But in the book, I actually don't mind it. I think it does work in book form. Being that Tolkien was a veteran of World War I look at it as basically like the soldier mentality. You can never truly go home. I think that's what he was saying. That's how I interpret it.
Yeah, no, I get that. Learning that when he was born and what was going on makes total sense. You know, like it obviously had an impact on him. Whether he wants to admit it or not.
Yeah.
It very obviously had an impact on him.
Oh yeah, clearly. I also don't mind that during that whole retaking of the Shire storyline, how Frodo's just kind of in the background. I found that interesting.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he? I didn't even really think about that.
It was mostly Merry and Pippin leading everything.
Huh. You're right. I did not think about that. Yeah, he kind of he didn't sound a horn, he didn't do anything.
I mean, he was involved in the battles, but he wasn't really, he wasn't leading.
Yeah. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he kind of was, but not really. Yeah, I didn't even notice that. I learned something. How exciting.
Yay. And yes, Ram Bam, that would be amazing.
But let me see. You know what? I can choose to live more life. I don't know if I'd want to do that.
I mean, that's part of being Elvish, though, because like when you're immortal, you're watching people you care about constantly growing old and dying.
That is true.
Which explains which is a reason why the elves tend not to get that involved with the other races, because they know they're mortal.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of frustrating to see the relationship. What's her name? Browin and the fucking the elf dude. And what is it? Rings of Power.
What?
It's frustrating to see the what is it? Sports bra and the elf dude in Rings of Power.
Oh, yeah. Don Legolas and Sports Bra, right?
Yes. So that's what I'm talking about. I know it's really hard to remember that there were actual like vague characters in Rings of Power. I know it's very difficult. Let's see. Oh, did I talk about Tom Bombadil? I know you talked about Tom Bombadil, but I don't know if you did. Oh, I know you did, but I didn't talk about Tom Bombadil.
Okay.
Tom Bombadil, holy shit. So annoying. Can I just say that he was annoying? Is that allowed? I know a lot of people like him, but...
No, I find him a little annoying. I understand what Tolkien was doing with him, but I don't think he was needed. Again, he's definitely not needed from a narrative standpoint.
Obviously, I don't... I mean, it was so little needed that, I mean, he's barely talked about after he has that chapter.
Yeah. I mean, he's brought up in the Council of Elrond, but they're just saying that, oh, well, he would just forget about the ring. we can't trust him to carry it out. And that's it.
Yep. I mean, we could have him keep it, but then he'd fucking lose it like an idiot. And then what the hell? What's even the point?
I get it. I take it as an interpretation of nature doesn't care about what we're doing. I get it.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I understand. It's just I don't. There were other ways that could have been done.
Most likely, yes.
Like, I don't know, how the forests just, like, they come back to the Shire and, like, some of the forests are just, they're still the same, and that nature just continues to go or something. I don't know. There was, like, a way that you could have done that nature continues.
Yeah.
Instead, we had a whole ass character that was very, very irritating. I don't know.
Hey, Pudgy.
Hi, Pudgy. Hello.
So, what would you say was the thing in the book that had to be either condensed or edited in the movies that you liked the most?
The walking to Mount Doom.
Oh.
I think just we kind of got a little bit of a highlight reel in the movies, whereas in the books we kind of got the whole thing. And that was a lot of walking. Let's see. I know that's like a common thing to complain about. Well, condensing it.
Hey, Pudgy, be careful with that mortar, okay?
Yeah. Just be careful there. That was like the main thing. I think it cut out a lot of like the fat, like the over. Like, I have to tell you how everyone got here. It's like it cut out a lot of like we went to sleep, we rested, we walked, we rode. They cut out a lot of that. And by the time we got to the Return of the King, I thought they did a pretty good job at doing that itself. It didn't have to. It wasn't like the movie had to do a lot more of that. There was a lot more that had to do in like the Two Towers, especially the second half of it, where they had to condense it and put it together.
Mm.
That makes sense. I have to say, of one of obviously a major change is the fate of Saruman.
Yes.
From the movies to the books.
Yeah. I understand Peter Jackson decided he really can't do the Scorching of the Shire storyline, but you could have done something better with for the end of Saruman.
He tripped and fell.
Yeah. Yeah, and apparently Christopher Lee really didn't like that. He really didn't like how Saruman met his end. He wanted to do the Scorching of the Shire storyline.
Yeah, I get that. I guess I don't mind how they did it in Two Towers. I thought it was kind of abrupt and very much like
that's an excellent point. That's an excellent point, Pudgy.
I mean, that's fine. That's always Clue's a good movie. That's a good one to watch.
Agreed.
But I don't know. I don't mind the Scorching of the Shire, but I will say that I think I'm not sure I like how Saruman ends there either. Because I'm trying to think of what I would do differently, but I don't know. I don't know the answer to Saruman's death. I don't know what the correct answer would be because I don't particularly like either one of them.
I mean, at least the book shows him shows Gandalf having overcome him and then renders him powerless. And he goes, all right, well, I'll just take over the Shire then.
Like a petty bitch.
But, so, like, again, it's been a little while, but if he went, I think, didn't Gandalf break his staff and that's what caused him to, like, disintegrate?
I think so. That sounds right.
I think that's what happened.
That sounds right. That doesn't. I can't think of what if that's not the correct answer, then I can't think of the correct one. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what his I don't know what I would have made his death be. Because I don't like. I'm not. After reading how it's done in the book, I'm not the biggest fan of how it's done in the movie. But then again, I'm not also a big fan of how it's done in the book. So I don't know what I would have done.
His death in the book is better than his death in the movies, though.
No, that's what I said. I said I don't like it as much, but I also don't know what I would have done different.
Or, I mean, at least the extended cut has something that happens, unlike in the theatrical cut when they just he's locked himself in his tower. He's just going to stay there now, and that's it.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't realize until I saw the extended editions that they never actually did anything for most So I find that really funny that I didn't even notice that they didn't do anything. So I don't know what that says about. I don't know what that says about my brain at the time whenever I watched them initially, but yeah, I didn't even notice it. I guess I just assumed he died of it. I didn't like I don't know. Maybe it's because I just finished The Dark Tower and I'd heard how they portrayed the Crimson King, but Saruman was, I think, a lot better when he was Christopher Lee than in the books, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe it's just because Christopher Lee always adds something, just kind of makes things better in general with his, his presence. I was just. I kind of found Saruman a little annoying in the books, whereas he was a lot more, not terrifying, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like, not terrifying, but intimidating. That's the word I'm looking for. He was more intimidating in the movies.
Ooh, Ram Bam. Max von Sydow as Denethor would have been good. That would have been a great choice. That's one thing I think the books did a better job of, showing Denethor's descent into madness.
I will say that, yes. That I think I replayed the part where Gandalf confronts him when he's about to burn his son. I can't remember.
Faramir?
Faramir, there we go. Faramir. When he was about to burn Faramir. And I replayed that 3 times. Because it was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's just. Also, I will say in the movie, they actually did a great job with the actor getting him to kind of. I don't know what it is about evil people in Tolkien for the most part, but they eat grossly. They can't eat they can't just eat food. They have to be gross about it.
Yeah, they have to take a huge bite, so it's dripping down their face and everything.
Yeah. The actor that did play Denethor, I think he did a pretty good job there.
Oh, he did. Oh, yeah, he was pretty good. But Max von Sydow, that would have been a really good one.
What has he been in, so that I can compare it? Because I don't.
You would probably know Max von Sydow best as he was the guy who played the Three-Eye Raven in Game of Thrones.
It's surprisingly that was not helpful. I don't. I have to look him up on Sydow. What movies have you been in? The Force Awakens, unhelpful.
Oh, that's right. He was in Force Awakens. He was the first guy that died.
Shutter Island, I've seen. Rush Hour movies. Minority Report. Judge Dredd. Oh, it's the Sylvester Stallone one. That doesn't count.
Oh yeah, Flash Gordon.
Oh, apparently, one of Stephen King's books, Needful Things. He was in one of those. I don't actually. Oh, he was in Flash Gordon. Okay, what did he play in Flash Gordon?
Emperor Ming.
Oh, okay. Now I know who you're talking about. Mr. Eyeliner. I got you. Okay. I cannot imagine him. I'm just seeing Emperor Ming, but it's Denethor. It's not. It's not working in my brain.
He huge presence himself, so I absolutely could have worked.
I'll take your word for it. So. Oh, he was the father in The Exorcist. Okay. Alright. Well, I'll take y'all's word for it. I don't know. I actually meant to watch the movies before the stream. I just didn't. They're kind of long. Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't get around to that.
That's one way to put it.
Yes. So. Just like piecing things together from the books and the movies. It is pretty. The parts that were from the books that were in the movies were pretty dead on, in my opinion, for the most part.
Yeah. Again, there are changes. Like, you don't get the impression that Frodo, like when he finds, oh my god, this is the ring, he like leaves immediately in the movie, whereas he like settles his affairs. So like, if they come, they're like, oh, Frodo's not here. He went to this different place. He took precautions to try to protect his home.
Yeah. But ironically, those precautions he took led to the Shire being taken over. Because had he not moved and taken that and sold back then the guy that ended up being the chief wouldn't have moved in there. That wouldn't have happened. You know, the outsiders, what are they called? The ruffians, I think is what they described.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't have come in. So I don't know.
He still, but even if he didn't sell Bag End, he probably still would have given it to his cousins as caretakers.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, they would have. Somebody would have got it, but if he didn't, him not selling that him selling back then led to the Shire being taken over. So
it made things easier for Saruman, but he still had his eyes on the Shire since he knew that's where they were from.
Yeah, but at the same time, that was incredibly petty of Saruman. You know what I mean? It's just incredibly petty, and he had a lot of other shit happening. So I don't know. It's definitely one of those plot points that I don't mind being removed from the movies. I will say though, at least the cousins that took care of his house it wasn't Bree. What was that place? The place they went to before Bree. His new house that he moved into and then never actually moved into. If the people that were taking care of that house just took care of back then, that would have been fine. I would have been totally okay with that. Yeah, don't they leave like that night?
In the movie, yes.
Yeah, they literally leave that night.
Yep.
It's pretty quick. I will say I'll give the books credit here. Although it is very difficult in movies generally to show the passage of time. Like super, super well, unless like you're being told how long it's been kind of constantly. The books did a better job talking about how long it had been. It was only a year. It certainly felt longer, and it also felt shorter. So it's very, and it's kind of that's reflected in the characters too, is that it both felt longer and shorter than a year, but it was a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that is. Yeah, that's why I should have probably watched the movies again. but I don't remember being kind of aware how much time had passed. Oh my God.
Wow, the small penis brigade's out today. Okay.
Remember?
Thanks for driving past my house with your loud ass motorcycles.
Wow. But yeah.
I don't think they mention how long it took in the movies. I mean, during the
Yes. Yes.
during the codex part, there's the he when he's writing his memoir / finishing Bilbo's book, he does mention it's been 5 years since he got stabbed by the Morgul blade.
Yeah.
And that's what prompted him to then leave, because he realized he doesn't belong in this world anymore. Being a ring bearer has changed him, literally.
Yeah.
And that's something else that I think the books did a superior job of, like, explaining just how hard it was to bear the ring that long.
Yeah. I think the closest thing that the movies got to really truly showing us is, so you remember how Bilbo reacted when Frodo wouldn't let him see the ring in Rivendell? Frodo reacting like that to Sam when Sam was like, "Hey, let me at least help you with that burden."
Mm-hmm.
Frodo reacting pretty much exactly like how Bilbo did, to the T. That was to me in the movies the closest thing. It was the same kind of face too. That his face kind of morphed into this demonic thing. I also think that the movies didn't do as good of a job, in my opinion, with showing, which is kind of odd because it's a visual medium, so you would have thought that it would have been better. But I don't think the movies did as good of a job at showing how OP all their elf shit was. The cloaks. The cloaks, I don't think I ever really I don't think I ever was under the impression that the cloaks could truly hide them. As compared by the other beings around them, not be able to see them at some point or whatever. But it's visually, it wasn't I was from the other people's point of views. It was I was always in the hobbits or the cloak wearers' points of views, where the cloak was very they were very obviously visible to me. And I don't really remember a time when it was they faded into the shadow. I don't remember that.
I think there was one scene where they're on the road and the orcs are coming, and they use the cloaks to blend into the rocks. But outside of that, I can't really remember.
I mean, you could visually show that, with it shimmering in. They had enough technology; they could have done that back then. But it's not. They didn't.
Yeah.
It really didn't show. It was you're always from the cloak wearer's point of view. You were never from what it actually looked like and how they were able to blend in very well. And I will also say, like I said, how OP all the elf gear is. The elf had elf light and the lightness of it, even their fucking rope, okay,
which will never break. Yeah,
had this effect that it just, the book I think did a better job at describing, probably because it was able to actually verbally describe it, whereas it is a lot harder to show something that you feel like that inside, how much like the light that the elves, just elf shit in general, and even elves themselves like give off. I just that was like a huge part of how they were able to deal with Mordor. Even the mithril that Frodo would wear is like the same thing too. You know, anything that had like a semblance of like the light with like a capital L, that kept him from being persuaded to go to the darkness. I think it did a better job to showcase how valuable that was. And if I remember correctly, when they're like about to get to Mount Doom, and I say about to, in like, you know, and the perspective of their journey, they're about to hit Mount Doom. And they're just like, shit, like there's like no water, you know, we barely have anything, we need to lighten our load. And they basically, so all those trinkets, they kind of disregarded a lot of them. I think there was like a couple of them that kind of kept them sane, but I did find it interesting that the closer they got to Mount Doom, and it seemed like the less shit that they had that was connecting them to the light because they had dropped all of it, and to lighten their burden there, it was like they didn't have as much of a connection to the light. And so it was almost like they should have brought all that stuff to keep that connection to the light, because it was only getting harder the closer they got to Mount Doom, to the point that Frodo, and I guess the only time anybody said this, thank God for Gollum, Frodo basically just says is on that precipice, does the exact same thing like pretty much everyone else before him has done. Isildur did it, right? Sam, I think, was going to end up doing that. Like every single person, they get to that right above Mount Doom, and they're going to throw it in, and then they don't, because you're at like the most potent levels of evil bullshit, right? And
I think I think Sam actually would have succeeded because he hadn't been carrying it that long.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, it's different. It's different than if you're just carrying it like on a part of your journey. You're talking like literally standing above the most potent, in the heart of the most evil place, because that volcano was fucking evil, like super duper evil. Poor volcano, man. It didn't choose that life. Okay.
That is true.
So,
like, but I do actually like that Frodo ultimately does technically fail. He did succumb to the power of the ring.
Yeah, I mean, it was that wasn't surprising.
No.
Right? And it kind of proved, like, Frodo had this like feeling in his gut that they had to keep Gollum around. Sam never fucking understood it once. Why? Because Sam was definitely the audience reading, just like, oh, Gollum, you're so annoying, go away.
And I will say that that's also one of the biggest differences from the books to the movies, whereas like the movies made it seem like Gollum and Smeagol are like two completely separate beings, whereas Smeagol is far more complicit in the books.
I don't know if I agree with that wholeheartedly. They kind of just gave it as they're like split personalities.
True, but like Smeagol's like, we can take them to her lair. Like, Gollum suggests we can take them to her lair like almost immediately, and Smeagol's like, okay.
Yeah, in the movies they do delay that part a bit.
Yes.
So I think that's the only reason. I think honestly, if you put that scene where it actually should have been, if you were going in line with the books, I think it would have made total sense either way. I think because that scene was later, it gave the illusion that Smeagol and Gollum were more separate than they actually were, if that makes sense. That scene is so pivotal into showing how this shit was planned.
I think it's more pivotal. I think it's more pivotal in the movies because, again, you don't really get that huge of a sense of Smeagol and Gollum are completely separate beings like that. It's something. I think it's something very different from the movies compared to the books.
Hmm.
Now, again, Andy Serkis did a fantastic job with that. It's one of the things that it's one of the things that made the movies definitely make Gollum way more sympathetic.
Oh yeah, I don't feel sympathy for him. Like I understand. You know what? I'll say this: I empathize with him because I understand how he came to this. But it kind of seemed like Smeagol was. I mean, even in the movies, I'll say the extended editions, because they go a little bit more into it. Smeagol kind of always seemed like a vaguely shitty person. You know, like
yes.
he wasn't. He wasn't a good person. Like
before he got the ring, he murdered people. Like he wasn't.
He wasn't a good person before.
No. Smeagol was absolutely a horrible person.
Smeagol kind of, and the Gollum thing, it's just, I don't know. Smeagol is like the more meek, evil.
Yes.
And Gollum is the more like
the corrupting influence.
Evil. Yeah. It's I don't know. To me, it didn't seem like that different. But also, you have to remember, a lot of how I read this book was I was visually putting in the movie where the book was. So there's a lot, because there was so much that was like mirrored from the movie and the book that it's very easy just to put that in. I will say right now that the book does do a much better job at why it took them so damn long to walk. Like, I understand that it was a long way, but holy shit, there were so many times that they just made it longer. Mm-hmm. Just, it doesn't really seem why, but it's... And also, they were very much on their own, not really knowing what they were doing, just kind of vaguely going in the direction of this dark thing. Like, they didn't really know how to get there. They just knew we have to go this way. And that's pretty much it.
I would also say the books also do a much better job of establishing the whole Mordor has air support. You know, to kind of eliminate the argument of the Eagles.
Oh, I will go and say it. As somebody who did think that at one point when I first watched the movies. When I first watched the movies, I was younger, obviously. Mm-hmm. And I thought, why didn't they have the eagle? Like, I heard the eagle argument. I was like, oh, I mean, why didn't they have the eagles? I thought that was funny. But having watched it when I was older, and obviously having my frontal lobe fully being, you know, my logic center of my brain being fully developed.
Right.
I've kind of thought about this, and I think it was laid out in an EFAP with Count Dankula, if you remember that one. It was so obvious because I have trouble seeing shit when it's right in front of my face. I can notice details all damn day, but if it's really obvious, I have a harder time seeing it. And it was very obvious. The reason why they didn't use the eagles is because Sauron is a giant fucking eyeball tower who can, if you're in the air, coming a mile, can fucking see you. Okay? Yeah. It's a giant eyeball in the fucking sky. If you come by via air, you are being seen. So it's just like that completely destroys the argument. And it's very obvious because that's literally one of the most iconic things of Lord of the Rings is a giant fucking Sauron eyeball. Okay, that's like one of the most well-known things about that series. and it's right there in front of your face. It's like, that's why you can't. The only reason why the eagles help afterwards. Yes, there we go. Now, sometimes the fan blocks it, but it's fine. All right. Sometimes
well, again,
Sauron.
This is remember. This is Arwen's final form.
I know Arwen.
Sauron.
Sauron.
Yeah. But yeah. So the and also when you see the what are they called? He's
not an eyeball in the tower in the books. Is he not? I thought. Did I misread that?
He's described as as an all-seeing eye, engulfed in flame. So I mean, he's not a physical eyeball.
Wow.
Well, no, literally in this picture that Josh is currently wearing, I wouldn't say that's not really a physical eyeball either because it's fire. I think the slit there is just kind of, I don't know, cosmetic.
Because it looks cooler.
Yeah.
Because yeah, the cat eye slit makes it look more evil.
Yes. So it's just, I honestly, like, if he took that away, it'd probably be about the same thing because it kind of looks like an eyeball, regardless. I don't know. Is it? I definitely read it as he was an eyeball in the tower, but again, I was
But also so going back to that point, you have when they're when Sam and Frodo and Gollum are captured by Faramir and his men, they're like walking and they see one of the flying, I forget what they're called, but they see one of those flying serpent creatures from Mordor.
The wyvern.
The wyverns, yeah.
Yes.
And their reaction is literally like, "What the hell is that thing?" They which I thought gave them a lot more ominous presence as well. Like they've never seen something like that. Which
Oh. Did I miss that?
Offhand, I don't remember that either.
Oh. Interesting. Okay. I just assumed that he was the eyeball, or at least that was an extension of like a representation of his power.
Fell beasts. Yeah, that's it. Yes, thank you, Rambam.
Okay, Reddit, tell me your secrets.
That's a dangerous place to go.
Okay, Sauron having a body is heavily implied in the text. Okay, Gollum mentions him having 4 fingers on his hand. Denethor, not Faramir, talks about him coming out only in triumph. The heralds call on Sauron to come and answer, etc. The appendices also talk about him taking shape in Dol Guldur. Should that not be enough, Tolkien explicitly talks about Sauron having a body in the Third Age in several of his letters. Well, I haven't read his fucking letters. What Sauron actually looked like is left fairly vague, but when talking about potential confrontation with Aragorn, Tolkien says that Sauron should be thought of as very terrible. Yeah, he has that success has been done. The form that he took was that of a man of more of a human stature, but not gigantic. It's also worth mentioning that the Eye of Sauron predates him from being slain by Gil-galad and Elendil, a time when no one questions that he had a body. He also did not require the ring to reincarnate, as Tolkien stated, but even if he did not wear the ring, the power existed and was in rapport with himself. He was not diminished. He was not physically manifested as a fiery eyeball. He had the body at the time of the War of the Ring. Okay, so it was kind of just like a giant crystal. I don't know, like just being able to see shit that was happening. That's what that sounds like.
I can't. It's been a little while since I last read them.
Well, considering we have two completely different people talking about the same thing. So I guess the Eye of Sauron is the eye is kind of like he wasn't going to actually show his physical form to a whole lot of people after what happened until he got the ring back.
Right.
So I will go ahead and say this. If I'm an evil bad guy, I'm going to want to intimidate and scare the shit out of people for the most part, and sticking a giant fucking black tower with a huge ass fiery eyeball at the top of it is going to scare a lot of people. So, because it makes you larger than life. So I would imagine that would probably be his, kind of him being able to see what's happening. Right?
Yes.
So. I always thought of Sauron as a fucking eyeball. I don't know why. So, okay. Alright. Fair enough. Oh, it says like the ISR token might have been talking about the magical vision he has. So apparently he can see like super far. So the eyeball might be like, I don't know, an assist. He got a unique drop in Diablo and he equipped it and now he can see super far. His range has been expanded.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah, why not?
He upgraded his crafting, so he can see further now.
Yeah, he got one of those like super rare drops. So.
Yeah.
Visine might have made Sauron less grumpy.
Or a Snickers bar. Well, yeah, that's
Sauron Snickers bar.
Yeah.
Oh, I liked that they gave Arwen more agency in the movie. She kind of did more shit.
She doesn't really do all that much in the books, no.
No, she kind of just sits around and looks pretty for Aragorn. Oh, she did send him the staff thingy for the dead army. So, are Arwen's brothers ever like talked about in the movies? Did I just like blow by that in the movie?
I think they just combined them. I think they just combined the characters into she does what her brothers did.
Okay. Also, wow, what happened to her mom was messed up. They just blew by that real quick. Like, they kind of kept her as like a sex slave. I was like, what? I did what now?
Yeah. Yeah. Pod Racing Palpatine. Yeah, it's yeah. They basically combined the two characters.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't mind that, but I also like her. So.
And again, it's also it's one of those things when you're doing an adaptation and you have time constraints. Sometimes you do kind of need to, like you have these two characters that they don't do all that much overall in the story, so just kind of combine them.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like it, and there's so many foreign names too. So you have
Yeah.
you have a lot of names that are very hard to like really get a hold of in your brain because it's very like it's not names that we're not really used to hearing. So the more names like that you throw at people, the more lost they'll get too. So you're kind of like, okay, well, I mean,
I'm still not sure at all how Liv Tyler was produced by Steven Tyler. Like that does not make sense to me.
yeah, look, you told me that. I was just like, what? How did that? What did the mother look like? Because apparently she's entirely her mother's child. I don't know how that worked.
I mean, it's like Liv Tyler is pretty damn hot, and her dad Steven. Like how on earth did that happen?
Yes. Oh yes, I will agree with that.
Yes, I will fully agree with that. I mean,
Boromir's death in the book was such like an afterthought. It was just like, yeah, anyway.
I mean, he still died trying to protect the hobbits, and he did
but
have.
They actually showed it, whereas in the books they really didn't even show it.
No. By the time Aragon got there, he was already dying.
Yeah, it was kind of fucked up because what Boromir does totally redeems him, and
It does.
They don't even talk about it in the books, really. He's just kind of remembered as, yeah, he kind of just wanted to steal the ring. Anyway. Whereas he totally and utterly redeems himself by dying for Merry and Pippin and taking down like 20 orcs while having like 10 arrows in his back. Like, that's impressive. That is absolutely impressive as hell.
Yeah, Boromir's death in the movie is like one of the most epic death scenes in cinematic history. It is so glorious.
Yeah, I mean,
like it's so epic. You feel so bad for him. It's so noble what he's doing. It's great. And I know Sean Bean has also publicly stated it's his favorite death that he's done.
Yes, Boromir dies. Anyway.
Basically, yeah.
Oh my god, there was a arrow. And yeah, we know exactly who you're talking about. It's fine. You don't have to like change the. I've been rating Arwen as I've been hearing Arwen the name with the Y in it like the whole last time I listened to the books. So I will say, okay, there is a part of the speaking of Arwen, there's a part of the books that drove me crazy and made me laugh. I have to ask, Eowyn, that's Karl Urban. Karl Urban is Air Mare, right?
Yes.
And okay, so Eowyn is the I am no man shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I have to make sure. Like I said, the names.
The name is a little confusing, yes, but yes. Yeah, Eowyn is not Arwen, yes.
So I will freely admit I hate Romeo and Juliet type stories where, hey, I've known you for 5 whole seconds. I'm in love with you. I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with you. Okay. Mm-hmm. Like love at first sight, I do not mind that if it's done well. Okay.
Yeah.
There is a way to do it well. Pretty much no one does it correctly. To the point that I don't even think I have like an offhanded example that I can just whip out of you because all the ones I can think of are like wrong. And I fully believe that Romeo and Juliet was romantic satire by Shakespeare. I fully, because it is like the worst of his works in my opinion by a wide margin.
No.
Which
I'm
one?
not. I am not a huge fan of Romeo and Juliet, but it is far from his worst.
Okay. Well, I'm saying if you take it seriously, if you take Romeo and Juliet like a serious story, I feel like it's pretty bad. If you don't take it, it's not bad, in my opinion. If you don't take it seriously. All right, what do you think is worse? Just out of curiosity.
Pericles.
I've never heard of that one, so I will take your word for that.
It's one of those. It doesn't get produced that often.
That's probably why.
There's a reason for it, because it is essentially Romeo and Juliet with incest.
Okay, well, okay, I'll take your word for that. That is definitely worse.
It is. I'm sorry. Wait. It's Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet with incest. There we go.
Okay. Well, all right. That's wonderful. All right. You know what? We'll write that down. Yes, it's incredible. Yes. If you read Romeo and Juliet as satire, it's fine, but most people don't, so it's very annoying. Anyway, so I'm not the biggest fan of like, oh, I instantly blah blah. Anyway, like it's fine if you instantly have like a crush on somebody, but the instant I love you or whatever, like if you're enamored with them or you like become really attracted, that's all of that is fine because that is very normal. Like the instant love thing that happens that's kind of, it's really hard to pull off well in fiction, and it's pretty much impossible to me where it doesn't
Snort of purpose.
I mean Athens, I don't know. Arkansas. So I hate how Eowyn spends like, I can't get like an exact, because I don't have like the actual like words written out before me, so I can't, and I don't have like the notes on it. But Eowyn maybe has known Aragorn for 3 days, and I'm being very generous with that. In my opinion, maybe she's known him for 3 days, and yet she is apparently so utterly fucking heartbroken when he doesn't want to be with her because he's already committed to another person. Before he even fucking met her, he was already committed to another person. She is so upset by that it fucks up her health after her battle with the ring wraith.
Yeah.
Fuck off. Get out of here. What are you talking about? That is bullshit. Yeah. No. The movies at least were like, made it look like a crush, where she was like, oh my god, he's like the tall, dark, and handsome like stranger. And
he's so dreamy. Yeah.
He's so dreamy, and I'm just like this poor, I'm sorry, very powerful, strong shield maiden, that I am just so innocent, and I've just been having to deal with so much shit and all this other stuff. And I'm just sitting here just like, okay, you touched on a potential thing for a little bit, and then they made it about her heartbreak over Aragorn, which kind of irritated me. Her being upset should have been more about, she never really got to reconcile with her father after he was under Wormtongue's control for so long. She didn't, because she got like sent off, or Faramir, I think is the name of the king of Rohan, or the former king, I guess. He kind of like immediately, like the second like he was out of Wormtongue's spell, kind of immediately turned around, and like the Helm's Deep thing kind of happened fairly quickly after that. And Eowyn got sent away, and she wasn't allowed to participate in that, or at least she wasn't allowed to like really interact with him. And that kept happening over and over again, where she was like in charge of like the women and children and like the wounded, and she really didn't get a chance to actually like talk with her father about that. because I'm just gonna call him Carl Urban. He kind of was fucking off for the most part because he got to ride out and be like out and about on the and Rohan and he wasn't really there that much in comparison with her, and like Wormtongue definitely wanted her to be with him. I don't even if not romantically, definitely sexually. He wanted her, and I can only imagine all the shit that happened because of that. You know, he didn't touch her or anything, but he definitely that influence, and he was definitely like wielding his power, and there was no one there really to help her, and so she was having to deal with all of that on her own for the most part. And I thought that would have been they kind of talked about that a little bit, but then they made it all about Aragorn as to why she wasn't really healing. And I think it should have been more about that. She didn't really get to say goodbye to her father and reconcile with him after all that time, rather than Aragorn doesn't like me back, sad face.
Yeah.
She's in love with Aragorn as the image of the perfect warrior king of her dreams. I don't know. So she's not really in love with him, and it's just.
Well, and I mean,
You see what I mean?
I mean, I do. Here's the I'm not sure what else you could have really done with her character that much, without changing like her entirely as a character.
I'm just saying they should have focused more about the loss, her being more heartbroken over the loss of her father, rather than making it about Aragorn.
That's fair.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Everything else is fine. I don't mind anything else. It's just that kind of pissed me off because it made it seem like that was more. I didn't get a whole lot. I definitely got like, oh, first love. Oh, I had feelings. Oh my gosh, all this. Woo, he's so dreamy and maybe I could make him stay and oh, I could change it. I definitely got like teenage girl vibes of like, you know, of that kind of young adult teenage girl vibes from that. But I don't think her feelings went that deep. And I don't know if they were trying, maybe I just missed it or something, but I didn't really feel like I was conveyed to that she really, really thought that it was that deep either. That she really thought I am in love. Like maybe she thought she could have been, but like if you're unconscious, like you're subconscious and like you're unconscious, you kind of you process things differently. But it was like Aragorn was under the impression that him rejecting her was having a negative literally was not letting her heal. What did they say? It was like she was a lily, like in a field, and but she was so pretty, and but then you got closer and you realized that she was fucking frozen, and so she was like technically dead, like frozen, but she's still pretty because she's like preserved and shit. And I'm just like, okay, Aragorn, I'm sorry, calm down. Calm the fuck down, okay? This chick's been through a lot more than just you, okay? Chill the fuck out. Why can't we just think that maybe she regrets not having like final, like proper words with her father? Because they kind of did, but it was in the middle of a fucking battle and they didn't actually really have a conversation. It was more the king, but they remember just trying to get all the shit out that he was trying. Oh, I'm dying. Let me just fucking say all this shit. But then didn't really leave her any room for her to respond, you know?
Speaking of Theoden, though, he's more of a badass in the books.
Oh, 100%. I agree. Yeah. He's way cooler in the book.
I mean, he's still pretty cool in the movies, but he's pretty damn awesome in the books.
Yes. Yes, 100%. And I understand that, Ram Pam. I understand that that's common. Okay? Just because it was common doesn't mean I have to like it. I just... Like, how we still have the tall, dark, handsome stranger that seems to be a drifter, and oh, he's so different, and oh my goodness, he makes me feel things, and oh my god, maybe I can get him to I can be the woman that gets him to settle down and change. And oh my god, like that is common as fuck still in our culture. Okay, like go to the fucking young adult section. That's romance. And just pull out a random book, and I can almost guarantee you that that's going to be a storyline in that book because it's so common. I just don't.
At least Aragon doesn't shift into a bear while banging somebody.
Have I been saying Aragorn? I mean Aragon. God fucking hell. Whatever. Strider. Fine, I'll just settle with Strider. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like that they made it about I don't like that they made it about Strider and not about her dad, because I thought that was like the reason why she had kind of fallen like that. It's because of her dad. Didn't need to go there, Josh. I ignored that he went there, Chris. What do you mean? No, I don't know.
However, now what am I referencing? Are those stupid shifter novels, or am I referencing Baldur's Gate? You don't know now.
No, we don't know anymore. Young adult romance. Yeah, I'm telling you, that's very common in there. So I don't know. To me, it seems that seemed like a missed opportunity. Talking about the relationship between a father and his daughter. It kind of seemed like a missed opportunity there. I don't mind her going and kind of trauma bonding basically with what's it, Faramir? Yeah, with Faramir.
Mm-hmm.
That turnaround was pretty damn quick, which just kind of, in my opinion, solidifies that was not love. That was a definite like infatuation crush. Because she's like what is it? Like 2 weeks later, not even 2 weeks, like 1 week later, she's like engaged. To Faramir. My god damn, woman, that was quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I mean, he was trying to capture that whole medieval style of writing in his work as well. So
No, I understand.
I'm not overly critical, since romance isn't like the core element to the Lord of the Rings stories, right?
No, I know. Obviously, it's not even really mentioned at all. I mean, really, it's not. It's bare. I mean, what you have?
Yeah.
The implied relationship for the majority of the books of Strider and Arwen, like not really. Does it really say it? Just kind of just heavily implied.
Hey y'all, I choose a mortal life.
Yeah. There's some more forks over here.
We love you, Arwen.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think her and Faramir, I think that was kind of cute. I was like, well, I mean, we both had really fucked up shit. Hey, both our dads are dead. Do you want to bond? We have both. You want to get married?
And the idea of them getting married for political purposes also factored into it, though.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with medieval, like it's like in Game of Thrones. What is it? No, House of the Dragon. That's the name of it. House of the Dragon did is like really interesting thing where they made me cheer for a child marrying a fucking grown ass man because that made more sense than the fucking like actual of age chick that he was like dumping all his feelings on. Like I just like wow, House of the Dragon was messed up, but that is definitely unfortunately what was common back then.
Yeah.
So but yeah, that kind of just like, there was so little romance that the romantic plots that not even the subplots of romance that did happen kind of stood out to me, and that's kind of what made me go, okay, well, I have questions and I don't like certain of these things. Like I liked Arwen being a little bit more proactive in the movies, but I love me an actual like proper strong female character too. So I said proper. So and I do like female characters that can balance strong and feminine. I appreciate that.
Like when Galadriel took on a cave troll completely by herself.
No. She let her fellow elves fail before she took it out.
Yeah.
So actually, what were you expecting to do to Sauron if you found him?
Yeah.
You can't take out a cave troll, and you're gonna okay. So that just because there was so little romance, it was the romantic things kind of stuck out to me. So obviously, I don't mind Arwen and is it not pronounced Aragorn? I thought that's how you pronounced it. Is that not how you pronounce it? Aragorn? That's how you pronounce it, right? They were making fun of my pronunciation earlier, so now I'm self-conscious about it.
Honestly, I think it can be pronounced either way.
Aragorn.
I mean, I've heard both.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Snorpoopus, that's right. That was her sister, Galadriel.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I just that stuck out to me. I didn't have an issue with those two, but then Eowyn was being over fucking dramatic, man. Like, calm the fuck down, okay? You've known him for maybe 3 days, and I'm being very generous with you on those 3 days. It was probably more like 1, maybe 1.5.
Eowyn. You said Arwen.
Did I say Arwen? Fuck.
Yeah.
Eowyn. Fucking hell.
Eowyn.
Names.
I know. They're very similar. I know the names are very similar. But you said Arwen.
Aragorn. My accent doesn't want to pronounce it like that. My accent rejects your pronunciation of Aragorn. I want to say Aragorn because there's an R there. Aragorn. Nah, I don't like it. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that stuck out to me? Already complained about the singing. The singing was very annoying after a while. I think
it's one of those you need. I think you need to be in the right mood for that.
I was not in the right mood for it.
Well, especially when you binged all 3 books in like 2 weeks. That's a lot. That's a lot to get through.
It is.
So I think if it's spread out a little bit more, it's not as irritating.
I know, but in a way, that's how they were meant to be read. You know what I mean? Like this is all events that happened one after another. So in a way, that's how they should. That's a cohesive story, and it is very obvious when you read them back to back like that, or listen to them back to back like that. It's the singing was a lot. Now I will say this: I think that is the flaw of the audiobook. It would not have bothered me anywhere near as much by reading it in a book, because I wouldn't have had to hear the singing.
Mm-hmm.
I could have just kind of read it as like a poem and not listened to someone fucking singing it.
That's fair.
So I'm not really, I don't know. I don't know if I can really knock that against Tolkien. It's like, yeah, that's songs, but like, I don't think he would have. I don't know if he would have like conceptualized as Audible and like audiobooks as a thing. So just pretend you're purring and roll your R's. Well, I can roll my R's, but I don't want to have to roll my R's every time I say a name. I got very irritating. Yeah, very irritating when fucking Galadriel and the Rings of Power wouldn't stop rolling her R's. Or have no singing at all. I don't remember there being songs when I read the book, but that was back in the before times. There are a lot of songs. They sing a lot.
There's a lot of songs.
Yes. There's like walking songs, there's fucking after dinner songs, there are breakfast songs, there are songs because there's guests here, there are songs because we're leaving, there are songs because we're going through some kind of whatever. There are songs because fucking Legolas was daydreaming and just was like, you know what, I remember this one thing, let me sing real quick. And I mean, it's just like, there's also Tom Bombadil who won't stop singing.
There's also songs of mourning as they mourn, Gandalf.
Yes, they have songs of mourning. They have songs
like
of yay, happy.
Which is like, those are a little more poignant.
Oh shit, was there? I didn't notice. This is why I should have watched the fucking movies before I'd done this. Oh well. Yeah. See, in the movie they actually did they did like maybe 3 in the movies. I remember the one that Pippin did. And,
yes.
Wow, brain starts with a G. Why
Gondor?
can't I? Gondor. Why did I have no idea why my brain forgot what that was.
Where he becomes a knight of. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why on earth I forgot the name of Gondor. It's just
the most important city in Middle Earth, but okay.
Yeah, it's just one of those. Yeah. Definitely not what King's Landing was ripped off of.
Well, okay. Well, also technically, it's Minas Tirith of Gondor. Gondor is the region, not the city.
Okay, the one with the pretty tree and the big castle.
Minas Tirith.
Minas Tirith. There you go. Whatever. Damn it! Fucking no wonder there was a 3.5 hours appendices at the end of Return of the King. Okay, I was like, what the fuck? I asked Logan. I was like, do I have to read this? And he was like, no. I was like, okay, good. I'm not reading that.
You mean you didn't? You mean you didn't read the letter Pippin or Merry wrote about why the Shire has the best weed in all of Middle Earth?
I just assume because they know what they're fucking doing, okay? Weed requires a lot of water. They have a lot of...
There's literally a letter from Merry about explaining his theories as to why the Shire has the best weed in the land. Okay.
Yeah, that was a necessary addition. Tolkien, what the hell?
I will say it does. It is an example of just how much thought Tolkien put into his world.
Oh yeah, the world definitely feels like not only has it been existing for longer than we, the reader,
Yes.
have been introduced to it, but it's very big. I will say that is something Rings of Power apparently just. Rings of Power is such a broken show that time and space cannot coexist in it by what I'm shown on the screen, because time doesn't. And it's funny because other people pointed this out, but it's burned into my brain for all of time. When the fucking Numenorians are coming to help the Southlanders, okay? And the Southlanders are, for some stupid reason, in a fucking broken wooden hut instead of literally anywhere else that would have been a better fucking choice as a fort. Like the actual fort that they had at one point.
Yeah.
It is pitch black. It's been pitch black. Like at the beginning of the battle, which, by the way, battles on a small scale don't last for very long. If you have like 50 people a piece, that battle's not gonna last for like a super long time.
No,
especially when it's just not. So you're talking about like night fell and then the battle started. So you have like 8 hours, I would say, just to make it easier on everyone, to hold down your section of the fort. That battle did not last for 8 hours. Okay, it should have been pitch black night. But when the Numenorians came, it was light outside. Dawn was breaking. So
look to the east.
And somehow they got from their fucking docks to this small ass village where there's no planet in which they should have known that was there. So God knows how long they fucking traveled to get there. Okay. The dawn and night literally don't work. There are shots where you can see it's nighttime and shots where it's daytime or dawn, and then it goes back to be night. Time flows, does not flow in a cohesive way at all. So it's just like Rings of Power does not work at all.
No. I also love my favorite detail of how this time does not work is they make it abundantly clear Numenor does not have any colonies in Middle Earth, yet you have Elendil and Isildur, the king and prince of Gondor, a Numenorian colony. Wait, what?
Yeah.
How could you have the king of Gondor around when Numenor does not have colonies yet? That doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. But, I'm trying to think. We keep going to Rings of Power because I don't know. Is there any more to discuss? On the books and the movies? I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
I do. I have to admit, I liked how in the books they do a better job of Merry and Pippin thinking it's Saruman and not Gandalf.
Yes.
That was done better in the books.
Yes. Yes. I will say that. Yeah. So, nice.
There we go. And I have to admit, the one Chris made is way better than the one I slapped together in a few minutes.
Hey, that was good too.
Yeah, but he actually like put the ears sticking out of it, which I kind of like. I need to do that.
Nice. I guess I never even noticed it. I can't think of anything else. This is a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be.
I'm trying to think. I will say, I think the books do. While there are some, some things that are kind of, like Tom Bombadil, who doesn't serve like a narrative purpose. Overall, it's the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's not a complicated story. Like, as big and grand and epic as it is, the story is actually pretty simple. Everything follows a logical reason.
Yeah.
Which is really impressive, that Tolkien was able to have all these characters, all these intricate settings, and tell a very cohesive story.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is impressive. Like, incredibly impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know. It is such an amazing feat. I mean, I can't think of anything that's been that detailed with, like, the histories and the ages and everything. Like, he created an entire universe. Like, he is the go-to when you talk about having really good world building. That's the word I was looking for.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, he, especially since I started reading the Silmarillion, just realizing how even bigger the world Tolkien created is. Like, he has the whole mythos, the whole mythology all planned out. It really is astonishing how much time and creativity he put into this entire universe.
Yeah. I mean, it is very obvious that, I mean, lots of love, lots of care, lots of time went into it. And I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. And you don't get that kind of dedication from authors at all nowadays.
For the most part, no. There are some, though.
Right, the shifter novels.
Yes. I'm glad you knew exactly what I was talking about. Thank you for just reading my mind and knowing exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. And yes, Snortopupus, he kept track of the times of the phases of the moon and everything like that. It is amazing.
Yes. Yeah, it was a good book. I highly recommend. Not that I really need to, but
so even with your problems with the books, you still would recommend the best-selling fiction novel ever written?
Yeah, I would recommend that.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. You ass.
Oh God, Chris.
Oh my God. That just seems mean.
Would it be the the cutscene from the game itself or the edited cutscene with it being Shadiversity? I need to know.
That is a good point.
I mean, they're both pretty
welcome.
horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm glad. Maybe he can get more. He's a very small author. Maybe he can get some.
And I'm so thrilled that his grandson is now in charge of the estate, who hates who hates the legacy of his grandfather. That just warms my heart.
Well, they say by the second or third generation of something's success that people it gets ruined. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I too would also recommend Lord of the Rings. Just throwing that out there.
Oh, you would? Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and I while we were on this stream, I didn't use one of my Audible credits to get the Fellowship of the Ring done by Andy Serkis. I didn't do that, even though I already had Fellowship of the Ring on Audible. I didn't use it to get the Andy Serkis version.
No, of course not.
So yeah, my plan is to after I'm done with the Silmarillion, I'm gonna go in chronological order. Then so I'll go into the Hobbit and then the Lord of the Rings trilogy again.
Nice.
And I have listened to the Andy Serkis Hobbit, which is fantastic.
Okay, good.
The riddles in the dark scene with Gollum makes him way more menacing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is pretty menacing, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's just something about Andy Serkis's voice as Gollum that's just because, like, you look at him and he's this pathetic looking creature, but to hear the voice, it's like, oh, he's so unsettling.
Yes. Well, I don't really have much else to add. I really did think this was going to be longer. But when we talk about good things, it's just kind of like I didn't have that much to complain about.
Yeah, it's like, is it a 100% accurate adaptation? No, but it's a faithful adaptation. And most of the cuts or changes, from a storytelling standpoint, I understand why they did it. Mostly it was just to condense things, because you're taking a story that takes about 100 hours or so to get through and have to tell it in 9 hours for the theaters or 12 hours for the extended editions. That's a lot of time to condense.
Yes. So, all right, Josh, do you have anything happening?
Still working on my Picard season 3 review. It's gonna be a little while before that's ready to go. I can only stomach watching it in my editing software for so long before I have to take a break.
Useless.
Yes, Picard is useless in season 3.
Yes. Well, I have I know Lorena has a 6K celebration tonight. I'm gonna try to stop by for that. So well, speak of that's hilarious. Well, thank you. I will be popping on her 6K if I can tonight. All things go according to plan. So I'm sorry you're late. Well, we're actually wrapping up. As we went ahead, yeah. I mean, it's kind of, it's a lot harder to talk about really, really good things.
It is, because you essentially just mentioned, hey, that was good.
Yep. And I mean, I could go, if I went into more detail, I could, but it's like, I feel like Lord of the Rings is like the very, like, scratching the surface of Tolkien's world. So it's like, I almost feel like in order to, like, go even more and more into stuff, I would have to read a lot more of his stuff. So there are certain things that I don't have answers to at the moment. I might be able to get answers to by reading some other. One more thing that I like that they changed. Well, a couple things. I like that Radagast was in the book, and I also liked that, I think it was Gawain was in was that Rivendell. So I liked that. I liked
Yes.
Yes. So
I did miss Radagast in the movies, yeah.
And I wish they had the dwarf that went, and then Bobo. They could have had a reunion. And I don't know, but that's after I watched the Hobbits. The Hobbit movie, that I actually understood that. But I don't know. I thought that would have been a good setup. So.
You got it, Pod Racing Palpatine.
You nailed it. You nailed it. That's it. That's all we had to say. You summed up our entire stream in just one go. So thank you, everyone. I might see you tonight if you're up and on Lorena's 6K celebration. You definitely should at least attend the celebration to say congrats to her. She will be she's going kimono on this. Not commando, kimono. Okay.
I thought. Okay, those are two very different things.
They are very different things. They entail very different things. So yes, go stop by the kimono stream for Lorena. Right? She's doing great. So give her yay, congrats, and woo. No, not Chris. You took the other thing. I did not know. So bye, everyone. Damn it. Josh, you're supposed to say bye.
Bye, everyone.
God damn it, Josh. We're professional.